there's a difference between Christianity's perspective of repentance
Yeah.
and the Hebrew perspective of repentance.
Yeah. So we're kind of defining repentance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the issue then is, what is repentance?
Mm-hmm.
To most church people, repentance is, oh Lord, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right.
I'm so sorry, cleanse me with your blood.
Mm-hmm.
But
But he's already done that.
yeah, but he's already done that.
You just haven't accepted it.
Or you need to re-embrace it and engage it. However, the problem is this: Lord, I'm sorry for doing this. And you look at your sin. And then tomorrow you're so busy looking at your sin that the drive to do the sinning now begins to build through the patterns inside of your life that you've been used to responding to, now engages with you because you're busy looking at it. To a Hebrew, it's not about words. It's about what you turn to look at. So beholding the perfect estate of awe, the flawless glory of our Father, just in the very act of turning to behold that, there's repentance, because repentance is turning, not saying I'm sorry. We've been convicted about your sin to turn from it. And so you do your sinning, which then just reinforces your guilt, which reinforces the pattern for wanting to do more sin and sinning. Why? Because of the pleasure it brings in the relief from being guilty. When
Yeah.
really,
Right. It's going to make it worse. It's
Yeah.
a bad cycle.
and people go, like we look at the glass, for example, and they go, I'm not going to sin. I am not going to sin. I am
I'm not gonna
not going to
sin.
drink you. I am not going to drink you. Man, I'm thirsty today. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, and you keep
And
staring
then just
at
keep
it.
on looking at it. So repentance is actually taking your eyes off that
Yeah, 180
and
degrees.
turning towards Yahweh, where,
Which is right here.
sorry?
Which is right here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that our eyes now are set on the right place. You know, there's in Old Covenant is amazing for a description of what we do, to lift our eyes to the hill from whence our help comes. Our help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth, who will not suffer our feet to be removed. So if I'm looking at this, that becomes my hill because my eyes are on it.
Yeah, right.
Repentance is turning towards that, which creates a different view perspective, and get my eyes off that, which is this no longer then has power, because my eyes are focused this way. And that to me is a real true source of repentance. Not just saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for doing this.
Yeah,
So
right.
sorry for looking at my stuff.
Sorry, Jesus. That's always how I imagine you explaining that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that related, before we move on to corruption, because we'll get there in a second, but is that because when you said look up to the hill, and this is the hill if you're stuck in your sinning, is that related to idolatry? Is that
Okay.
same thing?
Let's frame it this way. Wow, how big is the cup? Or, wow, how big is the cup?
Right.
Wherever you have that positioned is its empowerment inside your life.
So
So
is that
that-
idolatry in terms of how close
Completely.
it is? Right. So you're saying any sinning is essentially idolatry?
Idolatry, yes.
True.
It's your self-desire, which is idolatry, manifesting itself so that you can get what you want. Generally to alleviate pain in your own life.
I read a quote, by C.S. Lewis, and he said the root of all sin, which I guess in his point of view was sinning, which is what you're saying, is pride. And do you think that's true in this case? Because if you can't humble yourself to forgive yourself, then is that pride still, do you think?
Yes. Self-forgiveness is one of the greatest keys in recognizing whether you are forgiven or not.
Yeah.
Because you must forgive yourself before Yahweh can even forgive you.
Well, hasn't he already forgiven you though?
Completely, but
Yeah,
you've got to
right.
take that on
Well,
board.
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
You've got to
You
bear
have to accept
record
his
to that.
forgiveness
Yeah, absolutely.
in yourself, yeah. That's beautiful.
It's very difficult to accept forgiveness when you won't forgive yourself.